Peace. This is Waz for Waz Words Media back at y'all for another round. And fight fans, I'm going to introduce you to a little thing called irony. You see, a few years back, Tank Davis was talking about a situation that Devin Haney found himself in where Devin Haney was actually aggressively pursuing a fight with Vasily Lomachenko at the tender age of just like 20 years old. He was calling out a Vasily Lomachenko that was like 30 something or 30 years old in his prime and was dominating everyone. And the young Devin Haney called him out. Vasily Lomachenko did not want to take that fight. So he relinquished his title. And Devin Haney, who had like the WBC like silver belt or something, he had one of those like secondary belts. Because Lomachenko did not want to get in the ring with him, Devin Haney was elevated to the WBC the main champion at 135. He became the WBC 135 lightweight champion by way of them elevating his status. So Tank Davis, in an interview after that occurred, went on to say Devin Haney, they gave the belt to him. They mailed the belt to him. When have you ever heard that happening in boxing? He an email champ. And this is where the famous email champ term comes from. It came from Tank Davis in an interview making fun of Devin Haney. The fact that he said Devin Haney didn't have to fight for the title, they just gave it to him. Here we are, some years later, and well. Mr. Tank Davis knew he was going to contradict himself to those like myself that have been following. And the WBA, once Devin Haney said that he was not coming back to the 135-pound division and he let all 4 belts go because he's going to campaign now at 140. Once he dropped all 4 belts, Tank Davis was the WBA champion, but he was like their regular champion. So now the WBA reached out to him and they said, we will elevate you so you can be the full champion. The champion, the number 1 champion at the WBA. And Tank Davis at first said, nope, I'm not taking it. Why? Because he said, I want to fight for it. Okay, fine. That's an honorable thing, right? I mean, after all, this is what he said Devin Haney should have done or wasn't willing to do. So now you have this situation where Tank Davis, after some careful consideration, is accepting. He has accepted to become the the WBA full champion. So now the tables have turned, and in a quick, interesting strike of irony, Tank Davis is now the email WBA champion because he didn't have to fight for it. Isn't that something how the world works? So now Tank Davis did not have to fight Shakur Stevenson. He didn't have to fight Lomachenko. He didn't have to fight Kambosos. Whoever it is in that division, he didn't have to fight any of them. He has been completely elevated to the WBA full champion, and he has accepted this. So now, we not only have 1 email champion, we have 2 email champions in the history of boxing. As Tank Davis, the man who coined this term, has now been elevated and is now the email champion of the WBA division. You see, if you just go in there and handle your business, this type of stuff doesn't happen. But it's very similar to how Devin Haney says that Tank Davis is always mentioning Devin Haney's name whenever Devin Haney has a fight lined up or when Tank has a fight lined up. But when they are both free, you don't feel that same energy from Tank anymore. And this is why Tank has been put on the hot seat. And this is why Tank has to start showing and proving something, because he's already 30. Ain't too many years left, man, on this career of his. So he's got to start showing and proving something to us out here, because we've elevated him as the face of boxing. That he is, because he's box office. And he's knocked out all of these guys that he's been in the ring with. But we got to start to question when you start seeing Shakur taking on Oscar Valdez, who was young and undefeated in his prime, taking on Edwin De Los Santos, who was undefeated and dangerous. When you start seeing Devin Haney taking on legends like Lomachenko and moving up in weight, and in his first fight in the new weight class, taking on the guy that was the king of the hill of the division, which is Regis Prograis. When you see him go up there and pitch the shutout, he pitched the perfect game. He barely got touched that fight. When you start seeing things like that, even Teofimo Lopez, who gave Lomachenko only his second career loss and his first loss in years, Teofimo Lopez took that challenge and showed his greatness. And not only that, but then Teofimo Lopez moved up to 140, and Teofimo Lopez ended up taking on another guy that was considered a boogeyman in the 140-pound division, who was also another king of the hill, which was Josh Taylor. He went up and beat Josh Taylor. So you're starting to see all these guys making these moves. Even Ryan Garcia is actively pursuing a fight with Devin Haney. Even just the act of trying to pursue these big fights, gotta give Garcia credit. What is Tank really doing? So yeah, that's the news we have now, that he has been elevated, given the WBA title. So now, what I find very interesting is that all the people that were saying that they want, that Devin Haney's too big for Tank. Leave Tank alone. He's too big for Tank. Why is he calling him out? Rehydration clause. He's a 135-pound fighter. Okay, fine. Now he's at 135, a full champion of the WBA. There should be no reason that we don't get a Lomachenko fight or Shakur Stevenson fight in 2024. That is what the hot seat has. All roads are pointing to that. The hot seat is this now. The topic on the hot seat is this. It's 2024. Give us some more, Tank. You have been elevated to the WBA champion, the full champion. So now we got to see a Lomachenko fight or a Shakur Stevenson fight. We got to see that in 2024. That's all we asking for. You know, I'm a fan of Tank, but I would be remiss, man. I would be a hypocrite if I don't call him out. But yet I'm calling out Canelo for not fighting Benavidez, and I'm calling out Tyson Fury for not fighting Usyk. And if I'm calling these guys out, but I don't call out a guy that I like, I'm a hypocrite. And why am I doing this for? I do this to report the truth, and the truth has to be said. Although I like Tank, he's not showing his greatness right now. So 2024 is the year, man, to get up off that hot seat and show and prove to us that you are as great as we've elevated you to be as the face of boxing today. I'm Wise for Wise Words Media. Peace.